everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today we're going to be talking about immigration, both legal and illegal, and what exactly a good immigration policy looks like. I think all rational people can agree that there's a spectrum of constructive immigration policies and destructive immigration policies that, it's only the radical left that wants to bring in as many people as possible without regard to their status or our status. Basically just bring them all in, because, it's for ulterior political motives, right? The political left loves to feign empathy for people, right? But then as soon as it's a Democrat doing the same things, everybody goes back to sleep and it doesn't matter, right? So it only matters when white male Republicans are basically committing, atrocities against people. If it's a Democrat doing it, it's okay, go back to sleep, right? So we got basically this Time magazine cover, big red background, and this little girl, from a photo of illegally immigrating with her mom, and Trump just leering down at her, right? And just very neutral journalism, right? Just trying to get to the root of the core kernel of truth, not trying to, enforce any, ulterior political motive, right? Well, it turns out that the woman and her child, Sandra Hernandez is the mom, Yanela Hernandez is the 2-year-old girl, right? And I guess they're now the face of American illegal immigration, showing the plight of the illegal immigrant. And again, despite the criminal circumstances of entry, I do have empathy for people who are willing to go through that level of hardship to come into the country. Of course, not everyone is just coming voluntarily with their family, in this happy-go-lucky, sort of vision of the thing. There's a human trafficking, right? There's people bringing up kids. They're not their kids, right? They're kidnapped kids and they're trafficking humans, right? I'm not, of course, saying that's what Sandra and Yanela Hernandez, in this case, it very much appears like Yanela, and that's her mom coming into the country. Here's the thing, though. We talk about separation of family. Yanela and Sandra, they're not the only family, all right? Sandra has a husband in Honduras, Daniel Hernandez. They have 3 other kids, right? They have a 16-year-old son, an 11-year-old daughter, and another 6-year-old daughter, right? So basically, Sandra decided to just up and leave her family and go to the United States because she dreams of the American dream. How she's going to achieve the American dream coming in as a single mom with a 2-year-old daughter, that's a valid question in my mind. Essentially, no matter what race or ethnicity you are when you come into this country, if you come as a single mom with a 2-year-old kid, you're not going to be participating in the American dream in the sense of getting a job, working your way through, providing a life for your family, right? She's going to be on the dole. That's what she was. There's no other way in my mind that she could survive in this country, right, than just by going on welfare. Unless she, maybe she already knew somebody coming up into the country, so she was going to stay with them. But that's the thing. There are so many ways to come into this country legally. You can apply for asylum going to a U.S. consulate in Mexico or any of the ports of entry, right? Apparently, there are restrictions on asylum, right? You can't just claim asylum because you dropped, some ice cream on your shirt and you're distressed about that, right? I mean, and I'm not making light of people who are actually suffering, but Sandra and Yanela were not suffering, all right? They had a family back in Honduras. Daniel Hernandez is a captain of a ship down in Honduras. Central America has its problems, but this guy had a good job. They had a family. They had 4 kids, not just one, and she decided to abandon her family and bring her 2-year-old child up to the United States, going through unimaginable risk and chance of death and suffering, right? Bad things happen on these routes to the United States, right? So she abandoned her family, coming up into the United States, expecting to get on welfare and basically live the American dream, right? Because that's what the American dream is today to the American left. It's just the dole and it's votes for the Democratic Fabian Socialist, march toward progress and the destruction of the American Republic, right? That's what it's all about. And, it's really sad because I have empathy for these people, but I don't think any of these people who are screaming and wailing about the Time magazine cover and how Trump's literally Hitler, I don't think any of these people actually care. Because they didn't care during the Obama years. They definitely didn't at all. Use clips of both Obama and Hillary defending this policy of, basically not allowing kids born on the soil to just stay, right? Only actually one other developed country in the world has jus soli, which is right of the soil, which is naturalized citizenship. When you're born on this soil, you have citizenship, and that's Canada, right? A lot of Central America has the jus soli policy where you know, naturalize citizenship, but you know, and this is one of the things Trump's seeking to end, and you know, it's not just about immigration, right? There's legal immigration and there's illegal immigration. Obviously, I'm of Scotch-Irish descent. It's not like I'm a Native American, although before the Native Americans were here, there were red-headed giants, but we won't go down that path. But the point is that, you know, we should respect the people who want to come to this country and know what it's about, who want to earn their way and to want to create a life, not just to come and get on the welfare, right, and just hang out and you know, do nothing, right? That's not the American dream. It shouldn't be the American dream. And it's an insult to all the people who immigrate legally to just say, oh yeah, these people are the same, right? They're just undocumented. They're not illegal aliens, right? Like they lost their library card or something. It's just absolutely absurd, the idea that we're all supposed to have our heartstrings tugged and supposed to be so outraged at Trump over a woman leaving her family, separating herself and her daughter from the rest of their family. They were not in any sort of political dictatorship. They were not, you know, lacking for food. You know, and this is the other thing. So Daniel Hernandez comes up and says, I heard from people, from friends, that she paid $6,000 to a coyote, to a human trafficker, to get herself and Yanela across the Rio Grande into the United States. $6,000. All right, I'm a citizen and I do all right for myself. $6,000 is not like a laughable sum. I'm not a millionaire. $6,000 is a fair amount of money. She paid supposedly $6,000 to a human trafficker, to a coyote, to bring her and herself and her daughter up into the country. Okay, 6,000 American dollars is 143,000 Honduran. Dang it, what's it called? Lempira. The Honduran Lempira currency conversion, 143,000 Honduran Lempira equals 6,000 US dollars, okay? A nice place, an expensive place in Honduras is under 15,000 Lempira per month. A normal place, like median, is just under 9,000 Lempira per month. So she basically traded the equivalent of 10 months worth of rent at an expensive place in Honduras, or 16 months of rent at a normal median place, in order to abandon her family, take her 2-year-old daughter through unimaginable risk and of suffering and hardship, just to live the American dream and get on the dole and collect welfare. This is absolutely fucking absurd if we're supposed to all just bend to the will of the radical American left because of this woman and her child. I mean, again, this is not about empathy. I have a tremendous amount of empathy for these people and for all people who are suffering and trying to create a better life, because there's a lot of bullshit on this planet and people are trying to get away from it. I don't blame them, but this was not this woman. She had a family. She had a loving family. She was not starving. She was not in any sort of political hardship. She was just deluded by the same, you know, leftist maniacal BS that, you know, people here in the United States are. And, you know, again, there's so many Hispanics who support Trump and who are in favor of a sensible legal immigration policy and restricting illegal immigration, because again, it's an insult to them to say we're equal, right? And, you know, it's just, people have worked so hard to get to where they are in this country, to just say, oh yeah, give it all away, you know, none of it matters at all. I mean, it's very devaluing of that experience, and, you know, it's not good. We should do what we can to reform the illegal immigration, or reform the immigration policy, so that we have more legal immigrants who come looking to build a better life, who know what it means to be a citizen here, who know how to interact with people, who can speak the English language, right? Not just people who come with nothing and are looking to basically collect state services, right? And we should, at the same time as we're encouraging legal immigration, we should do what we can to discourage illegal immigration. And one of the things to be done about that is ending the incentive that people have just to jump across the border with a child, or have a child across the border, and then all of a sudden they're a citizen, right? And, this is not my main issue, right? But I don't think Trump is at all wrong in his position, and I think that millions of Americans who put him in office, I don't think they're wrong either. And I think for people to say that everyone's just a racist who wants to have a sensible immigration policy is profoundly disingenuous, and it speaks to the maniac mindset, again, that the American left has adopted into itself. Maybe they're putting some nanoparticles into Starbucks or something, I don't know. It's like people are just losing their minds, and every little media trigger just blows people out of proportion, right? I thought that, basically Trump signing the executive order ending the policy and putting the parents together with their children would kind of put some water on the fire, but these people aren't, you can't satisfy them, right? They're maniacs. They're gonna, if Trump were to basically bring peace to the entire world and prosperity to every person that's in poverty and cured all the diseases, they'd still be saying something evil about it. They'd still be comparing him to Hitler. There's literally nothing that can be done to appease these people. So really the only constructive thing to be done is to continue to articulate the actual American position, the actual rational position of people who are actually thinking, right? Chile, for example, there's a lot of, more Marxist countries in South America. Chile is more of a free market, right-leaning country. And, they have a very friendly immigration policy, but it's not unqualified, right? And, people can come into the country, they can bring people to start their business, but it's all in the spirit of entrepreneurship. It's about building. It's not about, here's the free stuff, right? And everybody just come get it. And it's the same thing in Europe, right? Ideally, I'm an anarcho-capitalist, right? Ideally, I would want a world where people could migrate freely and, could move across the planet as they see fit. But that ideally only works if, ideally, there's no welfare, right? That everyone comes under the perfect assumption that they have to pay their way, they have to build their way, right? When my Scotch-Irish ancestors came across, right, there was no welfare, right? Not state welfare, at least. There was no affirmative action. There was no, food stamp cards. There was the church, and there were jobs, right? You come in, you basically get with the church, you get a job, and you build your life and your family. You don't get anything for free. No one is guaranteed anything for free, citizen or not, right? But if we're talking about state services that are being provided, absolutely 100% a citizen has more claim to those resources than a non-citizen. And especially when that non-citizen is an illegal immigrant, right? It is, and it's these bourgeois white left these liberals, they say, oh, they took our jobs, right? You wouldn't even do that job. Maybe you wouldn't, working for freaking Salon in New York City, or, working for BuzzFeed. Oh wait, there is no BuzzFeed anymore, but, working for some elite, hoity-toity publishing firm in some major city. But how about for the black Americans? How about for those who are citizens but still at the lowest rung of the society? How about them getting their jobs taken? You don't care about that? Oh no, it's only because it's not a white left person, right, and getting their job taken that you don't care, right? Again, it's this faux outrage. In 2 weeks' time, none of these freaking people will even care at all. And Yanela and Sandra and Daniel and the rest of the people caught up in the actual the foot soldiers of this whole thing, they'll continue to live their lives and, suffer or not suffer. But again, the liberal media will move on to the next outrage. And, for people who know about the immigration issue, who have genuine, criticisms of Trump, again, I'm always willing to have a real conversation. I'm not a radical here. I'm not for ending all immigration. But to say that open immigration to the point of encouraging illegal immigration in combined with welfare state subsidies, like that's going to just work out, is absurd. And the only people it's going to work out for are those of the plantation mindset who are just looking to bring in cheap labor, cheap votes who they can just give free shit to, and they'll vote in the next round of socialism. And I think people are starting to wake up to it. It's hilarious, and it's entirely ironic that Time magazine triggered this whole backlash by printing this ridiculous cover photo of Yanela Hernandez and Donald Trump right? Like that's like that is the perfect moment of Trump in his racism and his literally Hitler moment, right? It's completely absurd. Sandra Hernandez does not deserve to be in this country. She is a disgrace to her family. Again, I'm not trying to be super judgmental, but the idea of me doing something like that, abandoning my family, abandoning 3 of my 4 children to leave with my youngest child and go across the borders of several countries, right, where there's drug cartels, murderers, rapists, right, wild animals even, natural, hazards, right? Like, if I were to do that, I would be a jackass. I would be a total friggin' moron. And I would not expect anybody to give me unending sympathy and $17 million of donations to this, race-based law firm, right? It is absolutely absurd. And again, I think there's a real potential to have a sensible immigration policy to encourage immigration, but also to discourage people doing things illegally, including illegal immigration, right? And people say, come in and ask for asylum. You can ask for asylum at any of the consulates, any of the ports of entry, but you can't enter the country illegally and then ask for asylum. You can't shoplift from a store and then ask for a job, as Stefan Molyneux pointed out. I felt that was pretty good. You can't shoplift from a store and then ask for a job. That's the equivalent of immigrating illegally and then begging for asylum, right? And again, she was not in any dire straits. She had a loving family, she had a husband with a good job, she had 3 other kids, and she left them behind. She separated herself from her family. And yet Donald Trump, the evil white guy, gets all the bad flack for enforcing the law at the border. That's absurd, completely absurd. And, basically, I guess that's it, it's, I'm not an alt-right guy, right? This is not about just best opportunity for white people. And again, back when the Irish came over, we weren't even considered white people. Go watch Gangs of New York, right? What a free white guy used to get a quarter for and a freed black man did for a dime, right? An Irish immigrant would do for a nickel, right? People throwing rocks at the Irish when they came off the boats, and who was it waiting for them? Tammany Hall, right? Come on, Irish, just, we'll give you bread and just vote for us. It was the same thing back then in the 1850s and 60s that it is today, right? Except now instead of the Irish, it's the Hispanics. And, it's not like they're the only illegal immigrants, but that's the preponderance of what we're dealing with. And if we have people coming in who aren't expecting free stuff, who come with the expectation only of opportunity for building what they will have and building what they will have for their family, not just receiving from the existing capital stock of the country, that's good. And we should allow for that for whatever family wants to come into this country and go through that passage. But to those who want to shortcut it all, right, by coming in illegally, and for those who want to just shortcut it all by giving it to them to get free votes, they don't deserve our sympathy. They don't deserve our empathy because they're sycophants, right? They're just political hacks, and their outrage is entirely manufactured for the sake of their own will to power, right? And, this is a great country with a lot of opportunity, and, it's just ridiculous to see people devalue it, in a fake sense of empathy, right? And, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe the left has it all right, and I'm just a crazy right-wing radical right there with Hitler, right? Like the left would have everyone believe, of anybody who criticizes their absolutely insane maniacal policies, right? And I guess that's it. Don't mean to be too negative with this one. Just trying to express a genuine sense of, WTF status, because for people to get so emotional about this Time magazine cover and for Trump and this whole issue, it's insane. And I'm hoping that we can move past this so we can start talking about things, including immigration and beyond immigration, that are important to this country, and we can do it in a rational and mutually respectful manner instead of just calling people Hitler because they disagree with a manifestly communist position, which unlimited open immigration is, right? We're not cattle grazing freely across the planet, right? We're humans. And, the law of immigration is just sort of a rarefication, a devolve of the law of war, right? For someone to come into my home without announcing, that is an act of aggression, right? And I have the right to respond with force, because that is, but for somebody to come to ring the doorbell and say, hello, may I come inside? I would like to speak with you a moment, right? This is the microcosm of what we're talking about. We don't deserve, we're not entitled to give people respect when they barge into our homes and invade our living space, right? If Sandra and Yanela were going to go out into the boonies, into the wilderness, and homestead and build a house in the forest and hunt for food, that would be one thing. But I'm pretty sure that's not what she had in mind when she was coming up with her 2-year-old daughter for the American dream, right? Anyway, that's my rant for today about immigration. If you guys disagree with me, think I'm a wacko nut job, or if you agree with me, or if you just want to, talk about something else, I'd be happy to see your comments down below. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.